Good evening and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, President Buhari meets with the diplomatic community, gives assurance of building a stable and inclusive nation. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka calls for emergency economic summit, blames Nigeria's current financial hardship on misgovernance by succeeding administrations. Minister of Budget and National Planning urges state governments to implement Treasury single accounts and stop depending on monthly allocations. The EFCC amends its corruption charges against PDP National Publicity Secretary Olisametu as court grants him leave to make no-case submission. And at least 71 killed as a bus crashes into a truck in northern Ghana.
And on business news tonight, the Nigerian Stock Exchange rebounds by 0.85% after 2 days of lackluster performance.
And in sports news, Nigeria's Segun Toriola and Ofyong Edem qualify for the table tennis event of the 2016 Rio Olympic Games.
We begin now with the President's pledge to the international community of his resolve to build a stable and prosperous Nigeria that's inclusive of her diverse people. President Muhammadu Buhari was speaking at a reception for members of the diplomatic corps in the presidential villa. He says so long as corruption holds sway in the affairs of Nigeria, the country will continue to suffer loss. But as a Democrat, President Buhari vowed that he will leave no stone unturned in the effort to rid Nigeria of corruption within the ambit of the law. Our State House correspondent Chukwuma Onekusi reports.
It is an annual event where the President of Nigeria interacts with the diplomatic corps, and the event features a massive turnout. The relaxed atmosphere provided the President an opportunity to let the international community know what he's done in the last 8 months of his administration, beginning with the war against Boko Haram and what he's doing to curtail poverty and hunger, which he says drag people into violence.
It is worth it to note that when I assumed office on May 29, 2015, Boko Haram had full control of 14 local governments areas in the northeast. But today, the group holds no territory in Nigeria. We are quite aware that the war on terror will not and cannot be won by military means alone. We need a soft approach that speaks directly to the human mind. Poverty and hunger do not only incapacitate, but they can lead to desperation.
And on the war against corruption, the President said he will fight it as a committed Democrat.
We are resolved to build a stable and prosperous Nigeria, a country that is inclusive of all her diverse peoples, and a country that is at ease with itself. Building such a country will not be possible where corruption is pervasive. Mindful of this, it has become necessary to wage a relentless war against the cancer of corruption. I will leave no stone unturned in the effort to rid Nigeria of corruption. I must, however, add that in doing this, we shall operate within the ambit of the law.
He said Nigeria will remain committed to its international obligations. The Dean of the Diplomatic Corps and the Cameroonian ambassador to Nigeria expresses confidence in the Nigerian president.
We are happy to notice that your action is now yielding fruitful results. Mr. President, rest assured that the international community will continue to provide full support to Nigeria's efforts.
The challenges may be enormous, but the president says he will give Nigeria the image that will be the pride of Africa and the rest of the world. The president asked them to continue to work hard to strengthen the tie of friendship between their respective countries and organizations. Chukuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
Now, the 6th Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, Patricia Scotland, who is the Baroness Scotland of Atholl, has called for collaboration between Commonwealth members of states to combat corruption and violent extremism. She made the call in Abuja at a lecture focusing on how the Commonwealth can help Nigeria resolve some of its socio-economic challenges.
Baroness Scotland is the guest lecturer at this forum. Her host, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Savannah Center for Diplomacy, Democracy and Development are hoping that her new job as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth will help the federal government deliver on its promises.
The Commonwealth, of course, is an organization that Nigeria has embraced, an organization that provides room for all her members. And so we look forward to the ideas that will come from Baroness Scotland.
There is indeed no gainsaying that the poor governance in recent past has deeply contributed to and continues to engender insecurity, injustice, corruption, and fuel insurgency, violent extremism, unemployment, and underemployment, among other vices. The strong support of the Commonwealth and the international community as a whole is needed for President Muhammad Buhari's efforts to chart a new course for Nigeria, and they are already demonstrating that.
For the guest lecturer, collaboration and partnerships amongst member states is key to combating corruption.
The fight that Nigeria sees before her is the fight of us all. It is the Commonwealth of Nations' collaborative efforts in combating violence, extremism, the fight against corruption, financial crimes, and the recovery of stolen monies in foreign banks.
Fielding answers to questions from the audience on combating violent extremism, she says member states should also collaborate.
I would argue very strongly that we are better together. The Commonwealth has now been charged with looking at extremism, looking at corruption, and because of the experience that I have had up to date, regrettably, these are areas in which I have specialised for many years, and I'm very pleased and proud to be able to lead on that.
Other areas where the Commonwealth Secretary General asked members to collaborate include trade and commerce, as well as climate change.
Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has called on the federal government to convene an emergency economic conference as part of efforts to salvage the nation's declining economy. Professor Soyinka expressed concern at the country's socio-economic challenges while meeting with the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, in Abuja. He also asked Nigerians to support the federal government in its war against corruption.
The economic condition of a nation, of a people, does not deteriorate overnight. Something came before that deterioration. A certain prolonged and unchecked process of attrition, which was neglected in the past, is now knocking on the door. The consequences of past misgovernance, in other words, is what we're all undergoing right now. But at the same time, we must rely on our objective economic experts to tell the government when it is going wrong, when it's taking certain measures which might just compound the problem, and in the end make the people the ultimate victims. So yes, I agree with those who say the economy is bad. I think it's obvious. In fact, it's so bad, in my view, that I think that the president should call an emergency economic conference in which experts will be invited, consumers, producers, labor unions, university experts, professors, etc., etc. I think we really need an emergency economic conference, a rescue operation, bringing as many heads together and then plotting the way forward.
Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka. And for the state governments facing challenges of funding their budgets, a solution may be closer than they think. And that's according to the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma, who has urged them to implement the Treasury single account and avoid depending on monthly allocations or borrowing. Senator Udoma was speaking at a meeting with Commissioners of Budget and Planning in Abuja.
It's a meeting between the Minister of Budget and Planning and the 36 Commissioners of Planning. One of the key objectives of this meeting is to deliberate on some economic policies and come up with ways of creating wealth for Nigerians at all levels.
Given the relevance of strategic planning to growth and development of any nation, it is our belief that the successor plan will pave way for effective transformation of Nigeria's economy, including addressing the lingering international oil price decline and its associated revenue receipts to the country. It is therefore urged that states will also, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Budget and National Planning, develop credible medium-term plans which will serve as basis for articulating the annual budgets.
The Minister of Budget and Planning advised state governments to key into the federal government's Treasury single account policy. He said this is one way of funding the budget and to impact positively on the lives of Nigerians at the grassroots.
The states are encouraged to adopt similar strategy in financing their budgets. Efforts should be made to enhance internally generated revenues and also to block financial leakages, while introducing cuts and control measures, particularly in the recurrent budget. The states should also explore the possibility of introducing devices such as the Treasury single account system.
Some of the commissioners shared their thoughts on the single Treasury account and efforts made to make it a government policy in their respective states.
There's no way we should sit down and not blocking leakages. There are leakages all around. You hear about the fact that there are a lot of states. Here you have ghost workers. The banks are telling us our endowment account is more than 600 million now. What are we talking about?
One of the central messages here is that the state and local governments are key partners in ensuring socio-economic development for the people. Many Nigerians will be watching to see resolutions reached here translate into improved welfare for the people.
In part 2, after the break, we revisit the deadly clashes by cult groups in River State. A director of research for Africa with Amnesty International x-rays this perplexing phenomenon. That's in a moment. Do join us again.